You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast. My name's Andrew Mackay-Smith. This is a conversation between myself and Frederic Leclercq from the band Sinsaenum. Sinsaenum have two shows in Australia in November 2018. That is on Thursday the 8th of November in Sydney and Saturday the 10th of November in Melbourne. We also talk a lot about the brand new album from Sinsaenum. It's an outstanding affair, as you'll hear through the conversation. I'm really taken with this death metal masterpiece. Repulsion For Humanity is the name of the album. Let's hear what Frederic has to say about all of that. Here we go.
Can you two hear each other?
I think so. Hopefully.
Yes, indeed. Yep.
Hello. Yes, it works.
Hey, Fred. Thanks very much for that. Hey, Fred.
Hello.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you doing?
Yeah, good. What time is it over there where you are?
10:40 a.m.
Ah, too early, mate. It's not a rock and roll time, is it?
It is not, but I mean, I have to wake up very early because the weather is horrible. It's very, very hot in Europe at the moment. So I wake up by default. It's not that I want to, but I have to wake up very early because I'm all sweaty and whatnot. But right now it's actually fine. So just touching wood or something. It's very fine, and the windows are open. So I am all ready to talk about death metal with you.
And excellent. Okay. Well, mate, I'll get stuck into it. You're bringing Sinsaenum down here for two performances, which is a question unto itself, I must say, because it's not your fault, mate, at all. But I simply, you're the second or third internationally renowned artist that I've spoken to this week who's only coming to Australia for two shows, where there's so many more markets here that beckon for you guys to perform. For example, I'm in Queensland and you're not playing up here, which is a real shame because I'm really taken with Repulsion For Humanity. But I'll get to that in a sec. So my first question will be, tell us about the show you're bringing down for those in Sydney and Melbourne.
Well, I mean, it's a question it's hard for me to understand because we haven't been touring yet. We never played together. So this is gonna be a first for you guys and for us as well. I mean, we start a month before that, so actually we should be good by now. No, we wanted to tour for the first album, and that did not happen. But we managed to get matching calendars for this run. So what we're gonna do basically is we're gonna rehearse in September. And then we're going to start with Europe, then do Russia, and then make our way down to you guys. And I don't think we're going to do like large productions and whatnot because we want to let the music do the talking, if you will.
Yeah.
So yeah. And I mean, we've been doing touring for a long time now, and we really want to concentrate on the music because we think it's strong enough. So. Just because we know exactly what to do on stage, so I think this is just going to be a very entertaining. Even though this is death metal, so I shouldn't be using the word entertaining, perhaps.
Hey, it works for me. Yeah.
You know what? Yeah. We want to do something like raw, energetic, just like the music. I don't think we want to do like theatrical because it doesn't have. It would have been good for the first album because it had like interludes and that was more atmospheric perhaps. But the new album is very much in your face, so I guess the stage performance has to capture that sort of raw energy.
Okay, so what I was alluding to a moment ago was that Sydney and Melbourne are indeed Australia's biggest markets. There's no two ways about that. So you're certainly playing in the two right places. But is it scheduling that means that you've only got the two shows in Australia, or was that just what was offered from the promoter?
It's a bit of both. We try to please everyone, but because I mean that what is funny is like Australian fans are the ones that have been complaining the most since we announced the gigs. Because, for example, say Japan, we're only playing Tokyo, and we could also be doing Osaka, Nagoya. Yeah. In France, we're not doing certain cities. In UK, we're only doing London. Just because we're doing a short run, and indeed that's the schedule because everybody's busy, and we're trying to make it happen as much as possible. But unfortunately, we're not doing Brisbane, Adelaide, Canberra, and these are Perth. these are cities I've played with Dragonfall that Joey's been doing with Slipknot, I'm sure. But yeah, we only the schedule together with the booking agent. I mean, I am not choosing the cities. We are not. We are being offered according to the schedule, the time frame that we have.
Sure.
We are being offered cities, and and I saw Sydney and Melbourne, and I was like, sweet, we're doing 2 shows in Australia. That's great. And then I saw on the internet, this is not Australia, mate. Yeah, there's more
you're going to get a bit of that.
And I was like, yeah. But that, I mean, it's funny because it's really just you guys in Australia that's been complaining that we not. I mean, there's been a few as well in London. Just like, why don't you come fucking, up north and blah blah. And I'm like, well, we make our way all the way to fucking, UK, so you can make 200 kilometers down to see us. And I guess it's the same with Australia, even though it's very big. And I do apologize. Like, trust me, if it was just up to the band, we would come and play, like I said, Brisbane, Adelaide. I love those cities. But this is just the way it is. And I don't know if it's the promoter's fault as well. I don't think it's a matter of fault. It's just like everything falling into place at the right time, because we have shows before and shows after. Maybe it was short notice as well. I don't know. There's many factors that prevent us from playing more cities. But I mean, if those 2 shows do well, then we will come back and do more. So it's up to the fans in those 2 cities to make it happen for the next. There you go.
Well, look, I've got to tell you, take it as a compliment that you've got such interest, because it's not always like that. So, for example, when Prong came through town, who I love, Tommy Victor's an excellent guitarist, great musician. There are about 50 people here watching him. And, of course, I was one of them. But there's a real demand for you here in Australia, and I get it. For the first time in years, now I'm going to hand you a really big compliment. I think Repulsion For Humanity has given death metal a really big kick up the backside. Now, I only got it today, okay? Now, I reviewed the new Deicide album, which I don't like that much. I think those guys have probably had their day, and a lot of old and tired ideas, and they're trying to recapture their 90s sound with Legion and Once Upon the Cross, and I think that they might have had their day. Glenn's voice, I think, is a bit shot too, just between you and I and anybody else that's going to listen to the podcast episode. But Repulsion From Humanity, mate, I tell you something, it is a brilliant death metal album. It is multi-layered. The guitar sound is the best guitar sound that I've heard since Morbid Angels Elude Divinum Insanus. Now, I know that album got a panning, but the guitar sound on that album is just brilliant. But your guitar playing in particular, it's just stellar. The riff in Final Resolve is the best riff that I've heard since Obituaries I Don't Care. And you know that track, of course, don't you? So do you get a lot of do you get a lot of listeners commenting as enthusiastically as I am about your guitar playing? Because I'm a musician, I'm a guitarist and a bass player, and I'm curious to know how you evolved your technique, because it's really quite something.
Well, thank you very much for the kind words. I don't know if people comment that much on the guitar playing, because this is death metal, and they mostly take it as a whole. So they don't really, particular. I mean, they're gonna usually focus on Joey's drumming, because he's the, he's the most known person in the band, and I guess lots of reviews are evolving on that, and I get it, and he's an amazing drummer, so that's great. So I don't really read a lot of good things, no bad things, but not particularly good things on guitar. The sound of guitar, I've read that quite a bit for Repulsion, because indeed that's something that we worked on. I didn't want to have like a typical Floridian death metal sound, even though I love it. But I wanted to have like I wanted to have like something more closer to Pantera, the Great Southern Trendkill. That's what I had in mind. I wanted something very aggressive, and maybe like with more high end and middle range. I don't, I'm not like an expert in terms of sound. I was with Francis Cast. That's the guy who did the mix with us, and we were, trying to define a sound. And I was like, I don't want to have that typical, say Jason Sukoff. I think that's where Deicide's been recording the album. There's a lot of bands going in his studio in Florida. And I love the guy, and he's doing an amazing job. But the problem is like all the productions kind of sound the same, with a very big, fat, clean sound. And we wanted something more, raw and aggressive. So that's why the the sound of guitar is a little different than what comes out nowadays, and I'm glad that you pick on that. And as for the guitar playing, I've been playing guitar. That's my main instrument. So people know me as a bass player in the power metal band. But I am a guitar player. So I've been always playing guitar, and I guess I grew up learning all the riffs from, I don't know, Metallica, Motley Crue, Maiden, and then obviously getting into death metal and black metal. I guess that's what makes my sort of riffing the way it is now. It's a bit like, I guess, learning from Mick Mars makes it a bit messy.
It's a good place to start, though.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I'm just and to be honest, I think it's less complicated and intricate than on the first album. The first album, I was really I wanted to show off and make it like a perfect death metal album, ticking all the boxes of. When I say perfect, I mean like in my books, because I love Morbid Angel, Obituary, Carcass, Pestilence. I grew up with that. Well, D-side. I grew up with that 90s, early 90s death metal theme.
Yeah.
And I wanted, and I wanted to make an album that could have come out in 95 or 96, where it kind of stopped for me. And that's where I wanted to take, things. I wanted to make an album that could have, come out in 95, 96, but with, nowadays production and obviously with touches of black metal and whatnot.
Yep.
But for Repulsion for Humanity, it's more a case of, because I've proved that on the first album and I accepted in the death metal genre, if you will, for lack of better words, then I was relieved, and I was just all right, now we can do what the fuck we want. We don't have anything to prove. People know that we are indeed death metal. So now there's less, formula to be followed. So that's why you have long songs and strange riffs here and there. So there was more freedom in a way. So yeah, but I'm glad that you like the album that much.
I do, mate. I'm really, really taken with it, and believe me, it's not that I'm a hard marker, but I really got bored with death metal recently, particularly after Morbid Angel released that last album of theirs, Kingdoms Disdained. I was really hoping Trey would step it up and release something that was just fucking Morbid Angel times 10, but he didn't. And I spoke to Steve Tucker about it, and I didn't want to offend him because I think Steve's a fantastic human being and a wonderful interview subject, but the production is just terrible on the album, and they stuffed up a really big Trey specifically stuffed up an opportunity there, but I feel like you guys have taken it. Not intentionally, of course. You probably didn't realise it was there, but for anybody listening, because I host a podcast series, and I'm going to release this as a podcast series, part of my podcast series, if that's okay. This is the death metal album people have been waiting for a long time, and I'm so glad you mentioned the mid-90s, because I'm from the same school that you are. I grew up with Deicide, Morbid Angel, Cannibal Corpse, Obituary, At the Gates, all of the classics. And you sound like you've managed to distill the essence of all of those great bands that I just mentioned, and you've got it on one record. So it's all there. Finally, there's an album that has all of these wonderful characteristics of all of the bands and the albums that I just mentioned. I could hear aspects of Formula's Fatal to the Flesh by Morbid Angel through it too. You've done it. Yeah. You've actually done it. So if anybody out there wants to hear a great death metal album, here it is.
Well, thank you very much. I guess the first one, Echoes of the Torture, had that sort of, like I said, elements of that as well. But this is just very, very honest, because this is death metal, so it's very hard to. I mean, you can't really try to make it commercial or go here and there to please people, because this is death metal at the end of the day. So it's meant to be evil and hard to perceive for people who don't know. But I mean, this is a very honest. We are very honest. I mean, it's just it's a music that I love, and I'm trying to make it as. Yeah, I guess the word is honest. So I'm glad that, because you were talking about Morbid Angel, I feel the same as well, because I was waiting for that new album, and in my head I had those glorious days of, Blessed Are the Six, or Covenant, or even Formula's Fatal to the Flesh. But I guess they went more for a sort of Gateways to Annihilation vibe, and indeed the production is a bit very big and not clear. So, but each to their own. I mean, they went that way because that's what they want to do, and they do it great. And I'm still a Morbid Angel fan, 100%. That's
Likewise,
my favorite death metal band.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I guess I take more from their Blessed Armasic or Domination era. That to me, that's very like those are or Altars of Madness. Those are perfect death metal albums. So I choose that direction, and I guess that influenced me in the way that I'm writing stuff nowadays.
Okay, I haven't got much time left, God. I wish I had an hour or two to talk to you because there's so many questions I'd like to ask you. One thing I noticed. So you played the bass on the album as well, didn't you?
Yes, I'm playing the bass on the album.
Now, because I'm a bass guitarist, I'm really curious about this. Now, I don't play death metal. I tend to, because I play commercial music like funk, disco, like Kylie Minogue and Tina Arena and people like that. That's the sort of music that I play. I really tune into the bass performance. I can hear it on a death metal album. Maybe there's only a couple of albums that you can really hear the bass properly. And I was listening with headphones on as I was walking to pick up my car from a service. So I had some ambient noise going on around me. But I take it you used a 5-string because I can hear almost everything that you're doing. And the question that I'll have for you is the bass guitar, because you are a bass guitarist as well as a guitarist, is it integral to the Sinsaenum sound, the overall sound that you're trying to produce?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the fact that I've been in Dragon Force playing bass for like so many years and being frustrated more than once because people couldn't hear the bass, I sort of like, make sure that you can hear it in Sinsaenum.
Yeah.
And, because I mean, I think it's a fantastic instrument that, I don't know, here's an example for my mother loves music, but she can't really understand what bass is doing. And she knows music very well, but I'm like, okay, so the bass is there, and she's like, I don't really hear it. I hear the guitar and I hear the drums, and I'm like, fuck, that sucks, because if you, when you listen to, I don't know, disco music, for example, the bass is really there, and so it makes sense. But in metal, it's always like in the back, doing the root notes, doing what guitar is doing, and yon. So even though this is quite, there with Sinsaenum as well. I mean, we didn't like reinvent the wheel or the seal or whatever you want to say. But I want to make sure that people can hear the bass, and when there are like, room for when there's room for bass line or something that makes sense, I'm trying to make that happen as much as possible. So yeah, I'm glad. Well, I guess because you're a bass player yourself, probably.
Yeah, but, definitely. Well, that's why I tune in. Yeah. Yeah, and I can hear it.
Yeah, but
mate,
I'll
make this my last point because I know you've got to go to the next one. But, you've got to be handed these compliments. And I hope journalists, indie journalists and anybody else that's talking doesn't focus on the whole Joey Jordison being a part of the band, because that's not really important. I didn't even notice that he was a part of the band. The work that you've done here is simply outstanding. It's one of the performances of the last 10 years that I'm listening to. I don't hand out these compliments lightly, by the way. I'm just so impressed with what you've done and the execution of everything. You strike me as the bloke that every single thing you set out to achieve on this album, you nailed.
Well, thank you very much. I don't. It's always like, when you hear criticism like bad things, I guess it's easier to come back. But when it's like compliments like this, I'm like, thank you very much. So I don't really know what to say, but apart from thank you very much, it means a lot to me that, when people appreciate, what you're doing, and yeah. So I mean, lack of words. Usually I know what to say, but thank you very much.
No, it's my pleasure. Look, just keep on doing what you're doing, mate, and hopefully our paths cross in the future, and I get to spend more time interviewing you, because you're a great interview subject. You're producing great music, so please keep on doing what you're doing, as I'm sure you will.
Thank you very much. And if you can, make your way to Sydney or Melbourne. Where are you exactly?
Brisbane in Queensland. Yeah, up north. Yeah.
Oh, Brisbane. Yep. Yeah. Okay. But try to come to one of the show. I mean, if you make it to the show, I put you on the list, so at least you don't have to pay for the ticket.
Oh, mate, it's very kind. Yeah, if I can get down, mate, I definitely will. Yeah, no, I've got kids, you see, so it's very hard, and working and kids and stuff, and I'm studying as well. It's very hard to sort of get out and do these things. But look, I'll definitely try. But, mate, thank you so much for the interview, and all the best.
Thank you very much. You have a nice day, and hopefully speak to you soon. And like I said, let us know if you come to one of the shows, and we'll make it happen. We'll make it worth the time and travel.
Okay, that's very kind of you, Fred. I really appreciate that, mate. You have been listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast. My name's Andrew Mackay-Smith. That was a conversation between myself and Frederic Leclercq from the band Sinsaenum and also Dragon Force. Thank you so much for listening.